Welcome to the Good News Show. The Good News Show brought to you by PreKure.com, where prevention is cure. I'm your host, Professor Grant Schofield, and the Good News Show is an attempt to redefine what news is, away from mainstream bad news designed for your reptilian fight or flight response in the midbrain, the amygdala activated, to getting the frontal lobes going and thinking about what it takes to have a happy and healthy life. This is the Good News Show. And in breaking news, there's been an outbreak of laziness across Australia and New Zealand. This is productive laziness. This is not actual laziness, lying around and doing nothing. This is a new brand of laziness called strategic laziness. Strategic laziness, the good news is not new. And you can access it through all sorts of books. The idea of The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Manson, a more contemporary version for those of you with that proclivity. The Happiness Trap by psychologist Russ Harris. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, coming out of Holocaust camps as a Jew. And in more historic terms, Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics, and even Buddha had a go at it. The idea that you concentrate on what's important and put your effort into that, and for the stuff that's not important and or you have no control over, forget about it. Be lazy, give up, don't worry about it. The idea of choosing what's important and getting on with it is strategic laziness. Embrace the strategic laziness. Great news is the outbreak of strategic laziness across Australia and New Zealand. And second good news is an emerging debate in biology, which is starting to be solved. This paper published in Cell Current Biology just this week really starts to help us understand better just how much being active contributes to your energy expenditure. There's really an argument that it makes very little difference, or people can exercise their way out of being overweight. So what is true? Well, let's have a look at this complicated diagram out of the paper and see what we can make of it. The first thing to understand is that we all have this basal energy expenditure. So that's just being alive, the homeostasis of being a mammalian human and maintaining a body temperature and a functioning immune system and so on and so on and so forth. And that might go up and down for various reasons. There's a thermic effect of food. Yes, it takes energy to eat food. And this is one of the reasons that some foods are said to have negative calories, like celery by itself. It takes more effort to digest it than the calories you get from it. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the idea. And this thing which we're talking about now, voluntary activity. So walking around during the day, going for a run or exercising, getting on your bike, doing some stretches, whatever, does that contribute significantly? And does it take away or add to your basal metabolic rate? And there's three versions of this. Well, the first is it's just linear. The second is that actually exercising ups your metabolic rate for the day, and that could help. And the third one is that actually you have some sort of compensatory effect by decreasing your metabolic rate when you exercise. You exercise, so you put your feet up for the other part of the day. And these guys, in 1,100 odd people, studied this quite carefully, and they discovered that, in fact, that third scenario is the most accurate, that there is a compensation. About 72% of what you do gets through. That's good news. And the good news is that it's actually not a linear effect. So the leaner and more insulin sensitive you are, the more you keep your glucose and insulin down from the diet you eat, and the leaner you are, the more of that activity translates to normal energy output because there's less of a compensation. So get yourself, the good news is to get yourself in that position, then you can take the maximum advantage of the energy expenditure from your daily activity. The other good news out is this book by scientist David Sinclair called Lifespan, and it really tries to unlock the biology of why we get old, why we degenerate, why our cell replication and our DNA no longer functions as it once did, that code gets lost. And the question is, what can you do either by medicines or by behavior to unlock that? And he talks about the NMN pathway, this idea of growth and replication, or of tidying up and repairing. And he notes that there's some medicines like metformin and rapamycin that can help with this. But he also importantly notes in this book about the important behaviors that you can undertake to keep your genes in tip-top condition and live your longest and, most importantly, best life where you're going. And fasting is an important component of this that activates that pathway. On the basis of this book, I'm doing a fast right now, a 3-day fast. Haven't done one for a year or two, and I'm just trying to reactivate that pathway and see how I'm going. I'll tell you how I go. There's a challenge for you. Exercise, both easy aerobic exercises and high heart intensity exercise does the same thing. Keeping the insulin and glucose in your diet down can help with that as well. Breathing and calming the sympathetic or stress nervous system, and the role that cortisol and adrenaline play helps unlock that system, as does getting cold in particular and resetting that system. So there's some lifestyle behaviors to increase your lifespan. What do you think? And it reminds me of, this is a slide that I show to every student I have in my PreKure courses, of the two systems that we like to think about: the catabolic or repair system, which we're trying to access through that David Sinclair's work, or the anabolic or growth system, which we need occasionally. But the idea is that all humans in modern times are really stuck more to that growth phase than the repair phase. So let's get a little fasting, some easy exercise, some calmness, and some cold water, and all of a sudden we're into that repair and regenerate phase, and we save our genes for the best possible life. The elephant in the room segment today is really about the mental health problem that we have across Australia and New Zealand. So, Aussies, I'm showing you some New Zealand data, but it's the same over your neck of the woods, which is this: that in the last 10 to 20 years, mood disorders and anxiety disorders have skyrocketed. And we know that. We're talking about it, and we must talk about it. We must stigmatize it less. Yeah, great. What are we going to do about it? Well, we've had a go with antidepressants, doubled or even tripled their use in recent times. How's that working for us? Has it slowed it? How are they working? Not very well. Temporary relief for some people. Harmful long-term side effects that are addictive. So we need to think about that and consider carefully how we use those. But we need to throw something at the health infrastructure, because the three pillars of health, including mental health, are what you eat, how you sleep, and how much you move. Why are we not talking about that? Why are we not talking about mental health and well-being in the context of what is known: sleep and nutrition, mindfulness, and sometimes supplementing with some broad-spectrum multivitamins like Julia Rutledge's work, exercise, social connection. Those are the things that keep us healthy. Why are those not in our health system? Why do we have a sickness system? Why do we have a mental ill health system? That's the elephant in the room. Let's stop talking about it. Let's do something about it, eh? And the good news show today, we're thinking about health coaching tips. How do you, and this is PreKure's health coaching card, which all our health coaches use, thinking about helping people find meaning. I think that's the first and most important thing in having a happy and healthy life. You can get to the exercise and sleep and diet and all those sorts of things, but what are you doing in your life that is important and meaningful? And it'll be different for everyone. No one is judging anyone, but we need to help people do that. And health coaching, either on yourself, on your kids, with your partner, or out and about if you're doing this as a profession, uses some tried and solid techniques. And I think there's ones on the left of this card are so important. Curiosity without judgment, open-ended questions, active listening, powerful ways of helping people find what's important to them. Only they can find that. Only they can describe it. And the way you help them find that is ask them questions, shut up, allow silence, and use your whole body, your eyes, your ears, your hands, and your openness to help them find meaning. That's the health and coaching tip of the day, brought to you by PreKure.com. That's the good news show. We're going to finish with the weather. Over the next week, it could rain. Well, it will rain. It will be cloudy. It will be sunny. But the weather, like your life, is a little bit unpredictable. And the important thing is how we act towards that. So regardless of the weather, we're all getting out there, aren't we? Rain or shine. And even if we're a bit uncomfortable in the rain, it'll be fun. And then the blue sky will come back. And the blue sky is always there, like your life. It's always behind those clouds and it always comes back. That's the good news show for tonight. Good night.